Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We turn our attention to an ongoing serious matter that impacts people across the world, but particularly for us in the region. We are met oftentimes by infringement of security spaces by hackers and other players and actors across the world who hide in the dark web. But we're also proud to know that we have capacity in the region to be able to find their spaces through those dark webs and shine the light on people who are seeking to opportunity. And so we want to look ahead at an upcoming summit that takes a look at the Caribbean digital forensics and cybersecurity, and it is being put on by an organization that is very well known to us with a series of experts who are joining us. And so joining us this morning is Dr. Leanne Barclay-Plattenberg, who is a leading authority in governance, risk and compliance with more than 35 years of experience. With her is ASP Francisca Noel of the Royal Grenada Police Force. She brings over 25 years of service to that police force as well. She's a certified computer forensic examiner, a mobile forensic analyst, and cybersecurity professional. She also has with her this morning Dr. Stephen Boyce, who is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of CyberDoctor, which is an advisory cybersecurity consulting firm in protecting high-risk and net worth individuals from digital threats. And with them is the summit host from the Caribbean Digital Forensic and Cybersecurity Summit in Mr. Roland Haggins. To all of you, I say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. Welcome indeed. I'll start with you, Dr. Plattenberg. Why is cybersecurity governance such a critical subject that we as a region need to pay attention?
Oh, we certainly need to pay attention. The threat landscape is evolving. Once upon a time, say organizations were only concerned about, IT systems. But today you have cloud systems, remote work, third-party vendors, regulatory changes, and now, of course, AI. All right? The old governance model only dealt with compliance, was more like a check-the-box compliance, but now we have to think about resilience. Leadership issues, business issues, national security issues are now all rolled into one. That's a big problem. So now we have cyber risk. Okay, it's no longer a personal issue, it's an enterprise issue, where when a breach happens, it not only affects operations, it also affects regulations, finances, a company reputation, and even legal compliance. So now we have governance frameworks being pushed as we more focus on accountability, leadership, oversight, and of course, resilience.
And I'm glad you phrased it in the way you did, because oftentimes we think of self, my account, somebody somehow hacked my phone, someone hacked my account, and that's all we see. But it's much deeper than that, because there's reputation loss from the island or the actual company as well. And what can you now do in this summit, you think, as a keynote speaker, to bring awareness to why it's important that we create the infrastructure that prevents us from losing our integrity and our security?
Well, now we work in a global environment. Everything is global. And you have such high regulatory fines to go with it if you're not in compliance. So now companies are more focused on accountability and resilience. And of course, reputational damage, like I said before. People fail to realize that reputational damage is the worst damage a company can experience. So it's important, therefore, that they also have these new frameworks. There are a variety of frameworks that are involved. They have a pick of the litter, in other words, and companies have to spend money developing these frameworks to prevent all the negative aspects from happening.
And so generally, are you satisfied from where you sit and you explore what the region is doing? Are you satisfied that those frameworks are effective, or would we need to take a deeper dive into what is available so that we are surer in our footing and footprint?
From my research, I think that they need to dive deeper. They need to dive deeper. And it's not only for the Caribbean, it's like globally. That's a big issue. So the Caribbean is just also a small part of that problem too as well. They need to have more skilled professionals in that field. They need to know that governance is no longer like a compliance checkbox, as we would say. It is like you have to make sure when you want your company to, when you talk the word governance, that these companies are really taking the time to look at their current processes, the systems, all aspects, even the business part of it, because of course it's no longer IT alone, it affects the business. So, and then map governance, these controls primarily into the guide the controls into what is there in existence, and to make sure that their business is more appropriate for the world, for their business itself, so to prevent all these negative things from happening.
And that's why we have to show up for this summit upcoming, folks. And so, ASP Noel, let's talk a little bit, given your experience as well as a forensic scientist too, from the regional perspective, how law enforcement can work together with private sector to combat cybercrimes. Let's take a look at that for just a moment. What do you see, and how are companies across the region, how are the locations, Barbados to Grenada, for instance, how are we working together so that we're able together to combat what we see as a high risk?
Thank you very much, Mr. Bowen. Yes, the crime, cybercrime, is borderless. And as a region, though, I'm not sure we are doing much collectively. Now, the private sector in the region is well positioned to work with and improve the law enforcement response to cybercrime. I would say that up front. I believe that this partnership is necessary to create a bigger impact on reducing the number of victims that we have, and the value of cybercrime as well with all losses. I say this because cybercrime requires significant capital investment, but also coupled with high-level collaboration. So law enforcement has the legal backing, regional and international policing networks that we can access, and of course the investigative skills. Historically, it has the luxury of large budgets to fund its traditional policing, far more the digital policing in the digital era. And of course, Dr. Boyd spoke of so many of the threat landscape advancements. This is where the private sector comes in. So possessing the capital, trained professionals with high-level skill sets, and the platform for information sharing. If these resources are harnessed and properly managed, what we can envision are hybrid collaboration of investigation and effective resolutions to prosecutions. So, for example, three basic activities involved in cybercrime: investigations, information sharing, digital evidence preservation, and incident response. Now, this can be shared responsibilities for mitigating the impact of cyber incidents. This, however, would need formal memorandum of understanding between both the law enforcement and the private sector, with prescribed guidelines so that each knows their role and their boundaries. Mm-hmm. But in the final analysis, what I would say is that a strong public-private partnership can transform cybersecurity from the responsibility of a single organization, being law enforcement, into a shared national effort, enabling for faster threat detection, incident response, and of course, more effective disruption and prosecution of the cyber elements.
And that's what I'm coming to now. Building the case. Building the case oftentimes requires that you follow certain procedures, because in the event that you don't, then the case is thrown out. And let's look at that from the law enforcement's perspective. Are you satisfied that the provisions are etched in law, in procedure sufficiently so that officers of the law can proceed and prosecute people who infringe our security, cybersecurity?
Right. We have a lot of the gray areas, so to speak, when it comes to our procedures, where we have legal, we have legislation. For instance, in Grenada, we have the Electronic Crimes Act. However, some of the procedures that we need to follow are not spelled out. And further to this, the cooperation between the police and the service providers, although we have few, is sort of lacking. So the and because of the nature of cybercrime being borderless, we need to share information. We need to access the evidence, which is volatile, in a timely manner, knowing that the data reside probably in this company A, and we do not have a cooperation with them, it means that there may be lack. If we can, however, have those legal frameworks in place, that means we have better access to information, we have quicker access to information as well. For the region, and Grenada is a signatory to the Budapest Convention, or Convention on Cybercrime. This affords us the opportunity to seek information from other countries that are not in the region where we are investigating a cybercrime as well. They can, in turn, seek information from Grenada, where some part of the victim, the perpetrates within our territorial borders. So this framework needs to be in place, and it means that for the Caribbean, we will have to have our legislations mirroring each other. We would have to have the same pipe types. We would have to have those SOPs, if you want to put it that way, so that we all speak the same language and can investigate cybercrime in having the integrity. Because, and of course, my background being in law enforcement for over 25 years, and being an expert witness on cases where digital evidence is introduced. A significant to those prosecutions are the integrity of the evidence. What happens with the evidence, with what you do. So that I can speak largely to, and I say that it is very important that we collaborate and have that framework, at least as a Caribbean, whereby we can, even if we are doing joint operation, the information that we share will be credible in any of the courts.
That's right. Dr. Boyce, I'll turn to you now, because we trust the cyberspace so much so that we download, we live in the AI world, and we engage openly and freely with all of this. Let's talk a little bit about that and what you see to be some of the threats if we're not so careful in terms of cybersecurity.
You know, and good morning. You know, when we look at AI, overall, we need to approach AI with confidence, but not carelessness. And I think that's very important, where we look at the benefits of AI, of helping, government, helping, industry improve public services, supporting the healthcare system, strengthening the things that we talked about, like fraud, and expanding education, but still be cognizant of some of the basics that we need to think about. We look at data as in itself, which is, where is it being stored, who has access to it, and what information am I providing to that system. And so, overall, folks will look at it and say, hey, what is the answer? And the answer isn't to slow innovation by any means, but it is to build that trust and safeguards alongside it, and understanding how we regionally in the Caribbean can trust certainly the systems that we are developing, that we're implementing, while also keeping in mind that criminals, nefarious actors understand these systems as well, and they're going to utilize these systems to potentially intimidate government officials, businesses, family members, and trusted institutions.
We see the benefits that flow therefrom, but we don't see the need for guardrails, because we think it's okay to operate. Everyone else is. But you're saying to us in the region, we need to be very careful how we also exist in those spaces that look on the face of it to be quite suitable. What do you think governments generally should do strategy-wise, and organizations to ensure that we protect our security?
Certainly. Well, government certainly has a role to play when it comes to policy setting for how AI is used when it comes to public services and decision making, right? But the input of businesses is also very important as well. And so when I look at things like tourism and being able to enable and harness some of the data that we certainly have, the government certainly has the responsibility to certainly start that dialogue, but in addition with industry, with businesses as well, right? And so, the communication and capacity building, education, right? You look at certainly the launch of things like BIMPay, and certainly, the hype and the excitement that comes with that. The government certainly has a role to play in working with the public to inform them, hey, these are how nefarious actors may try to capitalize off of, a recent event, right? We look at certainly the upcoming crop over season, and unfortunately, nefarious actors have long tried to scam people out of tickets for events and things of that nature. But certainly the technology has gotten to a place now where you may look at something and it may look and appear like a TicketPal ticket that you have bought from a third party, when in fact AI certainly has used it. So those are just some of the ways in which government certainly, not only from a policy standpoint, but also just really educating and building that capacity throughout the region.
Indeed. Mr. Higgins, I'll talk to you now because the question is asked, when hackers hit the economy, who pays the price?
Short answer is everyone pays, because a cyber attack is not just an IT problem. If a bank, a utility, a port, a hospital, a telecoms provider or government agency is disrupted, the cost spreads quickly. Businesses lose revenue, consumers lose access to services, confidence is damaged, and recovery becomes expensive. So for small island economies like ours, resilience is economic protection. And a couple months ago, the World Economic Forum released a report saying that it is imperative that countries have cyber resilience. It's now part of national competitiveness. So we do talk about things like climate resilience. Now we need to talk about cyber resilience.
And that's a big subject that will be on the agenda for the summit as well. But can our financial systems generally, from your perspective, withstand what people anticipate will be the next cyber attack?
Well, that depends on how prepared we are. And as Dr. Boyce just said, in Barbados, we just had a huge overhaul of our financial system with BIMPay. Most people probably don't understand what a huge undertaking that is and what a phenomenal job the central bank has done. We don't give our central bank enough credit. It's a world-class central bank, one of the top in the world. And now we have one of the top back-end systems and payment systems in the world. However, we need to understand how to use it. I'm sure it's very secure, but it will be tested because the financial system is one of the most attractive targets because it sits at that center of trust, payments, identity, and commerce. So we also have to look at individual banks, and we do have some great cybersecurity experts who are in our banks locally. They will be at this conference. We'll have regulators at the conference as well. So, and also, if you're not in Barbados and you can't attend in person, you can go to the website, which is cdfcsummit.org, and register for the online stream.
cdfcsummit.org is where you can go to register to be a part of the stream. This is really for law enforcement officers, corporate security teams, academic researchers, government officials, and cybersecurity vendors. And so it is built in such a way that there will be interaction. There will be keynote speeches. You have opportunities to ask questions, but you're interacting also with the latest technology and finding out from the vendors some of the best footprints that you need to have to ensure that your systems are safe as well. So that kind of one-to-one and person-to-person interaction is what you're engaging with. It's in August from the 19th to the 21st at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center, and it's open to one and all. But you need to register quickly by going to the website cdfcsummit.org, and we'll be reminding you as the days go by as to why it's important, how you can be a part, and with the open theme looking at spotlighting women in cybersecurity, it's important that women show up and the girls show up because the future is also rich and their participation is also very, very critical indeed. We have 2 men and 2 women, and that was deliberate because we want to show that it's equal, and so the woman has an equal role and an equal opportunity to be in the room as well. To each of you, I thank you for joining us. and I wish you well. But once again, let me remind you of the website cdfcsummit.org. If you look at your screen, that's what you'll be interacting with. The countdown is on to the summit. 40 days still remaining with a couple hours to go. You register now, you click register now, or you can become a sponsor. Look at the agenda, you see it all, but you need to show up at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center from the 19th to the 21st of August to be a part of this summit. It is a summit that takes a look at Caribbean digital forensics and our cybersecurity, presented by all of these experts who you heard this morning. And so we want you to come and learn and engage from and be better at your jobs as you go along as well. So thank you, Dr. Leanne Barclay-Plattenberg, ASP Franciscan Noel, Dr. Stephen Boyce, and Roland Haggins for joining us this morning.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome all.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.